Well, hello and welcome to my first YouTube video with my actual face in it. This video has been a little while underway. I had to set up this small studio first, so I ordered some lights and I ordered some other items I needed. But some of the parcels weren't delivered and I had to make new orders. I also had a couple of photo projects, and a week ago I had a bad cold, as you might still be able to tell. So it's really not because I was procrastinating, but circumstances just were so. I still need to do some more work on the studio, especially the sound and the acoustics, but let's see how this video turns out first. A quick disclaimer: all the gear I'm using is something I bought with my own money. I'm doing this video as inspiration, and I gladly accept any photo opportunity to practice my skills. Nevertheless, what I would like to tell you about is a concert I went to about a month ago. It was at a venue named Dexter in Odense. I was there to photograph a band named Lujani, and it's made up of these four very handsome young gentlemen. Lujani recently recorded their first album, which, FYI, is now available on your streaming service, and it was a release party for that album. I work as a part-time teacher, and the lead singer in the band, Carl August, is one of my colleagues. Carl August already asked me once before to photograph a concert with Lujani, which I did some months ago. So the band members and I already met before, and it's always a bit easier to photograph someone when we are not complete strangers. My main camera is the fairly new Sony A9III, and it's a very suitable camera for concert photography. The global shutter means I don't have to worry about banding, which are these bright and dark horizontal lines across the image caused by flickering LED lights on a camera sensor that is red line by line. The Sony A9III also has excellent autofocus, and it can shoot up to 120 frames per second raw. At concerts, I mostly shoot between 1/30th and 100th of a second, so the camera is usually not set to anything faster than 30 frames per second. On the A9III, I can also quickly switch between photo and video just by flicking a switch very close to the shutter button. And in low lights, like I had at the concert, I don't need to put on an ND filter to get the adequate settings for video. My favorite combo is the A9III paired with the 70-200 f2.8 GM2. With this I can get close, I can get sharp images. It's fast and it nails focused almost all the time. The 70-200 has an aperture of 2.8, and even though it's quite bright, it's not necessarily enough to shoot at a concert. Dexter is a fairly dark place and they don't have any elaborate light shows, or at least they didn't set it up for Lujani. So I couldn't take advantage of any pulsating bright lights. So I also brought 3 prime lenses, a 14mm, a 24mm, and this beauty, the nifty 50 Sony f1.2 GM. I had the idea to do this behind the scenes video from Dexter, so I bought an Insta360 X4 just the same morning as the concert. But I never had an Insta camera before and I didn't really have time to get to know it, which of course is not a recommendable approach, or in other words, just really dumb. I'm using some of the footage from that Insta360 in this video, but the low light capabilities of that camera isn't all that impressive. I would normally probably not use footage like that, and maybe even ditch this video, but Lujani and of course myself liked the idea of a BTS video from their event, so I decided to make it anyway. But I do apologize for some of the video quality. Well, enough talk about gear. Let's rock and roll. Yeah! I arrived a couple of hours before the concert. Lujani had already set up their gear and was doing a sound check. After the sound check, the guys fetched pizzas and retreated backstage, and I just tagged along. In the beginning, the atmosphere was pretty relaxed. But the closer we got to the start of the concert, nervousness and excitement began to set in. But this is actually where I feel it starts to get more interesting, when people no longer pay any attention to me, just like my wife. And they move their focus away from the camera and towards their undertaking. The band members already okayed me getting very close with my camera, but of course it's kind of a given that during the concert I don't screw up the experience for neither the audience nor the band. Besides that, I'm trying to be as invisible as possible. I want to capture faces, expressions, and the atmosphere. The band had been a bit nervous about the turnout. They simply didn't know what to expect, but right away it was obvious that the place was packed, and as soon as they got on stage, it seemed as if the nerves settled quickly. The audience was a mixture of friends and family and existing fans, and probably also a fair share of people that did not know Lujani very well. However, the music did luckily engage everyone quickly, and the party rapidly took off. Photographing a band like Lujani is both fun and interesting, even though these young lads are in this band together and they have a lot in common. They're also very different people with individual characters and expressions. Jacob was the same all throughout the entire gig, like a big kid in Legoland. He was having the time of his life and enjoying it fully. He's a very playful person, and he has a lot of facial expressions, which makes him quite easy to photograph. I know Carl August as both a teacher and as a performer, and he's a very calm person, but he's also very devoted. An obvious dedication and passion is seen when he's on stage, and of course it's exciting to try to capture that on photos. Lucas is also a very playful person and appears to have a lot of fun on stage. And especially during the second part of this concert, he was totally committed and full throttle on his six string. Both Lucas and Nikolai are actually GPs. They have serious jobs with a lot of responsibility, but they do appear somewhat different when they're on stage. Nikolai is more stoic than a Greek philosopher. He's not easily agitated and he's very focused, which I guess is exactly how anyone would like a doctor to be. However, on stage, he's a little less generous with expressions and movements. But that's his style and my problem alone when photographing. Nikolai did also tell me before the concert that he was very nervous, which of course is very understandable. I'd be myself if I was to get up on the stage and do what these guys do. The concert was divided into two with a break in between. And during the break, I went backstage with the band and tried not to be too frantic, but I was very eager to get some shots of the atmosphere behind the scenes, which I feel I managed to get. The bar staff actually asked Lujani to prolong the break for another 10 minutes, simply because Dexter was packed and they needed time to serve the guests at the bar. But I guess that was a very positive problem for everyone. After the break, it did not take long to get the crowd going again, and towards the end of the second part, the foundations of Dexter was shaking and everyone was all in. By then, I was getting a bit stressed out. There were just so many different spots I could get great shots from, but as a photographer, I just needed to keep calm and make the best of it. I can only be in one place at a time. But then, lo and behold, approaching the grand finale where everyone was just rocking, even the good Dr. Nikolai had let go of it. That exact moment, I wish I had been at another spot on the other side of the stage, but I wasn't, and there's nothing I can do about it. After the concert, after the encore, the mood was just fantastic. Family, friends, fans were just all so glad on behalf of Lujani and taking part in the joy and excitement and celebration. Well, that concert was just such a nice way to spend a few hours. I've already sent Lujani a lot of the pictures from that evening, from their evening, and I really hope they can use them in their journey ahead. The band celebrated until early next morning, but I had used up my energy and I went home afterwards. If you're still here, please stick around just a little bit longer for a few of my top picks from that evening. Perhaps even consider hitting the like and subscribe button. And finally, remember to listen to Lujani on your streaming service. See you around.